Chapter 11 covers payroll, taxes, deposits, and reports. Now, recall back in Chapter 10, we focused on payroll information from the viewpoint of the gross amount earned by the employees, deductions from the employees' earnings, and how to calculate their net pay. We're now focused on the different types of taxes that are paid by the employer on behalf of their employees. So when we talk about the different types of taxes that the employer pays, they're going to pay the federal income taxes withheld from the employee's earnings, Social Security and Medicare taxes withheld from the employee's earnings, as well as the employer's share of Social Security and Medicare taxes. Recall that we learned back in Chapter 10 that the amount withheld from the employee's earnings for Social Security taxes and Medicare taxes has to be matched by the employer. In Chapter 11, we're going to learn how to record the taxes owed by the employer and show how we're going to pay the actual taxes. So when it says to deposit payroll taxes, that means the employer are now paying the taxes to the appropriate tax authorities. Most companies pay their taxes using what's called an EFTPS, Electronic Federal Tax Payment System. So employers are given a user ID and a PIN number where they can submit their payments to the federal government with an online system. We'll look at how to compute and record the employer's share of Social Security taxes and of Medicare taxes. So what you see in column 1 are the deductions withheld from the employee's earnings for Social Security taxes and for Medicare taxes. Recall back in Chapter 10, we would credit a liability count such as Social Security tax payable and Medicare tax payable for the amounts withheld from the employee's earning. We record them as a payable as a liability because those taxes have not yet been paid to the appropriate tax authority. Now in Chapter 11, we're going to add the taxes owed by the employer because once again, the amounts paid for Social Security tax and Medicare tax by the employees, those amounts have to be matched by the employer. So the employees have withheld for these taxes $171.94, which means the employer also owes for these taxes $171.94. We're now going to record the payroll taxes, hint, hint, that are owed by the employer. So to record this transaction, we would debit payroll tax expense to show the amount that is owed by the employer. The total was the $171.94. Because the taxes have not been paid yet, we're going to have these liability count, so Security tax payable on the credit side, as well as Medicare tax payable. So at the end of each pay period, we're going to compute and record the taxes owed by the employer for Social Security taxes and also for the Medicare tax. So now we recorded all of the employees' payroll information. We recognize the taxes owed by the employer. Now it is finally time to pay the taxes owed to the appropriate tax authorities. So when it says record deposit of Social Security, Medicare, and employee income taxes, that means that we are now paying these taxes to the appropriate tax authorities. Exhibit A. The first column shows the deductions withheld from the employee's earnings. The second column shows the matching by the employer. Notice that the employer only matches Social Security tax and they match Medicare tax. The employer does not match the federal income tax withheld from the employee's earning. They only match the FICA tax, which is Social Security taxes, and Medicare tax. The third column shows the total amount that is owed to the federal government. So when the taxes are paid, we're going to send them money for the deductions withheld from the employee's earning, as well as the matching by the employer. So when we pay the actual taxes, the total amount owed is the $1,995.52. So we are going to debit, We're going to debit the liability accounts for the taxable taxes being paid. We'll debit Social Security tax payable for both the amount withheld from the employee's earnings and the matching by the employer. We'll debit Medicare tax payable for both the employee share and the employer share. And we're going to debit an account called employee income tax payable for the federal income taxes withheld from the employee's earnings. Because you're making a payment, you're going to debit the liability accounts to show the decrease in liability accounts. And because you're making a payment, credit cash, which is an asset, cash is decreasing, assets decrease on the credit side. So this will be the journal entry, record the payment made to the appropriate tax authorities. Next up, we have a tax form called a 941, known as the employer's quarterly federal tax return. Now, from a business perspective, there are different types of tax returns that are going to become due throughout the accounting period. This form here, the 941, is a tax return that becomes due at the end of each quarter. So the 941 shows the taxes owed to the federal government, which consists of the Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, and the federal income tax withheld from the employee's earning. This Form 941 is prepared on a quarterly basis. Now think about, there are 4 quarters in a year. Well, let me just show it to you. The actual due date for these taxes, the Form 941, must be prepared and submitted by the last date of the month following the end of each calendar quarter. Again, the 941 must be prepared and submitted by the last date of the month of the end of each quarter. If the taxes for the quarter were deposited, meaning that if they've been paid already, they will extend the due date by 10 days, meaning that we could have paid the taxes already, but not completed the actual Form 941 yet. So if the taxes have not been paid, then the 941 and the taxes are due on the last day of the month following the end of each quarter. If you paid the taxes prematurely, they give you an extended 10 days to complete the Form 941. So let's take a look at the Form 941. I want you to first focus on this top section. What the top section is showing us is the employer's information, their EIN number, their name, address, etc. It also indicates which quarter we're paying the taxes for. So we're doing the first quarter, which consists of the months January, February, and March. Part 1, line 1, let me go back, is showing us the number of employees that had earnings for the first quarter. So there were 5 employees who had earnings. Those employees earned a total of $29,217.50. What box 3 shows us are the amount of federal income taxes withheld from the employee's earnings That amount totaled $2,015. Now, this is actually in my way. Oh, there we go. Thank you. So now we look at the section 5. Hope you can see this. This says taxable Social Security wages, $29,217.50. And you see it's time point 124. But remember that for Social Security tax, the employee's tax rate is 6.2%. The employer's tax rate is 6.2%. When you combine those two together, it gives us a tax rate of 12.4%. So when you're paying the government Social Security tax, you are paying them the amount withheld from the employee's earning as well as the matching by the employer. The same is true for the Medicare tax. You see the taxable wages times 0.029. Well, the Medicare tax rate is 1.45% for the employee, and is also 1.45% for the employer. When you combine those two together, it gives you a tax rate of 2.9%, which is 0.029 as a decimal. So multiply the taxable wages for Social Security tax and Medicare tax times the applicable tax rate. So box 5E shows the total amount owed for Social Security taxes and for Medicare taxes. Box 6 shows the total tax before the adjustments. So now we're adding the federal income tax withheld from the employee's earnings, as well as the amount owed Social Security tax and Medicare tax. The total amount owed is $6,485.28. You're responsible for knowing the type of taxes shown on the Form 941, federal income taxes withheld from the employee's earning, Social Security taxes and Medicare taxes, both the employer's portion and the employee's portion. So again, the total amount owed would be $6,485.28. The adjustments is something that we will cover for those who are accounting majors and have to take the payroll accounting course. Okay, so this form is prepared on a quarterly basis because this is the first quarter. It must be completed no later than April 30th and submitted to the federal government. We're going to come back and talk about some different type of tax forms that are completed by the employer, and also talk about a subject known as unemployment taxes. Stay tuned.